I can't really remember when I first started to feel like I didn't belong in this world. Sometimes I feel empty. It's a natural human emotion that can lead you into a rabbit hole full of destruction and pain. From memory to birth, I knew what it was like to be unwanted. At a young age, I was under the false pretense that I was loved. I can't really remember when I first started to feel like I didn't belong in this world. I remember his hands around me, telling me to be quiet, his cold, leathery hands crawling on my skin, and the smell of alcohol and cigarettes. That was the first time I found myself disassociating. I pictured myself in a field with yellow flowers, my own version of Andrew Wynn's painting, Christina's World. A beautiful sky, just so I wouldn't feel anything. I was able to find love and comfort in something that didn't judge me, didn't abuse me, and allowed me to be myself. I can't really remember when I first started to feel like I didn't belong. I've spent years searching through jigsaw puzzles full of fragments of distorted memories, simply gasping for air, trying to make sense of what was going on. It was then in middle school when I started becoming an isolated child, overindulging in romantic comedies, horror novels, and true crime podcasts, and began to incorporate them more into my art. During those times, I was struggling a lot with my mental state and coming to terms with all the abuse I had endured for so long. It was a hard pill to swallow. Looking back, I remember my art teacher noticed all the warning signs surrounding me and helped me channel all of the negativity. I can't really remember when I first started to feel like I didn't belong. I remember the first time I got sick. In 2017, I developed something known as Charloff's cyst disease. This caused me to develop back pain and permanent nerve damage on the sacral portion of my spine. I had to give up so much of who Dana was and assimilate to a new life where Dana couldn't walk and was wheelchair bound. All the vibrancy in my life had washed away, and suddenly life felt monotonous. And in those days where everything was black and white, I would try to make my spirit colorful. I would somehow find a way to claw myself out of a rabbit hole just to go back and fall into another one. A quick violent game of cat and mouse to see who live or die is trying. I remember the first time I felt my intestines were in a burning rage, like someone was stabbing me with 1,000 needles. I remember those horrible, cold nausea vomit nights. I got sick in fall 2021 for 2 months and a year. I spent in agony throwing up every day, losing weight, developing mouth sores, blood in my stool, fatigue, diarrhea. I remember the doctor asking me if blood was my period after begging him not to discharge me. 3 days later, I was being rushed to the hospital after I spiked a fever and I couldn't eat or pass fluids. Once again, I was forced to change the way I lived and assimilate to a new diet, adult diapers, 15 pills, and infusion centers. I remember having to give up my dream of going to art school because I couldn't walk 15 yards without having to take an uninvited shit. I remember the drugs. Then came a point when I fell into the only world I knew that would ease my pain. I guess that's what they wanted you to think. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened to me if I didn't go through this period of self-destruction. I remember when I first started just smoking casually and overlooked it. When I started slowly to ease into shrooms and coke, that's when I spiraled down. Her smile had seeped away and the sight of her sketchbook was gone. I felt depersonalized. Who was I? What was the purpose of my life? I simply didn't want to live. I wanted to disappear. I wanted to run to my soulmate's arms and tell him I needed help. I didn't have the courage to disappoint him and tell him I was addicted to quick pain relief. And although I maintained my job and went to school and pretended I wasn't in any sort of pain, I wasn't sane or emotionally stable. My honey bun had to switch hospitals so I would be able to get the proper care I needed. Thanks to him, I was able to get a piece of me back. Faith. I had lost it throughout so many years, and now here I was clinging on to it. I remember my soulmate bathing me and combing my hair, telling me everything will be okay, so guiding you. And it did. I remember the day I realized I was self-destructing. I now know where I stand in this world. I got clean and started immunotherapy in March after coming back from an 11-day cruise in the Caribbean. I remember one night dancing and feeling happy in the middle of the stage. I remember looking at nature and beautiful places this world has to offer. I learned of new cultures and food and met new people, new stories, and inspiring individuals that taught me valuable lessons from their own life experiences. I discovered Dana all over again. Looking back, sometimes I wish I could hug the younger me, because although she endured so much pain and hurt, she still found a way to show the world the beauty and color within herself that was suppressed for all these years. I wouldn't be in this world if it weren't for art. That day, I was told I had Crohn's disease. I promised myself to be better for myself. I promised that if one day I went into remission, I would finish my career and finish going to art school. I strongly believe that everything in this life happens for a reason. Nothing in this life is incidental. I remember the night I decided to take control of my life. I was struck by an idea. Metamorphosis is a project that emerged from all of this life lesson, in which I have channeled all my pain and anger and all the difficulties individuals with disabilities might face due to problems in our society. It talks about the struggles of drug addiction and living in an abusive household and the detrimental scar tissue that is left behind. Metamorphosis is a way of using my art to help others around me and for others to find the beauty in life despite any struggle. I now know where I stand. Art found me and creeped into my life when I most needed it. It is why I need to spend the rest of my life doing the one thing that brings so much life and happiness and color into Dana.